Yo, GM. What's good, AFM? It's your boy 0xRapture in the house. Let me know if you guys can hear me in the chat. Getting some GMs coming in. How's everybody doing today? BTC, new all-time highs set while the votes were coming in, and it started looking increasingly positive that Trump was going to take the White House. The market got kind of fucking crazy. GM. Let's see who we've got in the house. Taking a quick little stroll through the comments. My boy Hermit. GM, motherfuckers. GM, thanks for being here, buddy. Mr. JJ, GM fam, good to see you. Alex Santeri says, GM, another familiar face. We got Kim in the house. GM, Kim. Did you end up falling down the rabbit hole of the boy Trader Main and ICT and all those resources I put out? Hopefully you were finding some useful information from them. I know I certainly did. We got Sigma Slayer in the house. GM, fellas. Rahul says, hey, yeah. GM. Prince, another familiar face. GM. EtherFi. Wonder if that's the real EtherFi. I'm a user of that protocol for restaking my ETH. GM. Ooh, I am going to butcher that, my friend. So, since your initials are GM, I'm just going to say GM. Not dishonor your name with my flub. Charlie Hyde says GM. The 12th Ent says GM. There we go. Prague Brewer says GM. Another familiar face. Always wonderful to see familiar faces in the chat when we go live for these. Appreciate each of you that shows up and takes an interest in what we're doing, showing up to learn, taking chances, taking setups, putting yourself out there, learning the system. Okay, well, I guess I should get all the housekeeping out of the way. GM, and welcome to the Daily Edge presents Astrology for Men with 0xRapture. I, of course, am 0xRapture, and I'll chart any shitcoin with a pulse, provided there's a little bit of chart history for me to work with. I mean, the chart can still be, less than an hour old, and we can find some to work with. It's not necessarily going to be the most long term of analysis, but we can chart any shitcoin out there. I want to remind everyone that this show is brought to you by the Daily Edge. Let me pull up. There we go, thedailyedge.com/subscribe, where we put out a daily newsletter outlining the previous day of crypto, mostly on-chain, but as well as some perps information, things that occurred over the last 24 hours to get you caught up to speed with a whole bunch of actionable intel, insights, and information written by the one and only on-chain wizard. I do recommend you go and subscribe. It is a free daily newsletter. And we are also brought to you by ChainEDGE, where you can find links in the description below. ChainEDGE is an on-chain analytics platform tracking the top 0.01% of DEX wallets by profitability, where you can watch real-time flows and see where capital is moving on-chain, so you can make informed decisions about where the hot ball of money might move to next, and position yourselves with wallets that have historically crushed it. And again, don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment if you enjoy what we do here. It helps the show grow. It helps me know that what I'm doing helps you out and that you enjoy the show. I mean, we've had a pretty good response. I think when I first started doing these live streams, I want to say almost 2 months ago now, which is wild. Almost 2 months, maybe even 2 months. The Daily Edge YouTube channel had something like, about 80 subscribers. And now we've grown to over 300. It's still small, but steadily growing. The vision is to grow this into one of the most reliable sources for on-chain or for analysis on shitcoins. Skewed heavily towards on-chain, but we do take a look at the majors from time to time, although I leave that up to some chads that are much better at trading the majors than I am. But I've developed a system over the last few years that is really tailored to trading on-chain and knowing all the nuances. So by liking, subscribing, and commenting here and as well on X to all of our accounts, which you can find all the links in the description, helps this grow. And the larger the AFM community gets, the better it gets. And the more people that we can help learn the system. And the two outlines that I have for myself with these teachings are to help you grow your capital and to help you protect your capital so that you can read a chart and know when you're trading with the trend or maybe when the trend has gone against you and to get out of the trade. Now that all that stuff's out of the way, let's dive in. Let's just take one more quick look into the chat. Take a look and see what's going on. Moses says lock in. GM, thank you for joining us, Moses. Ozzy Nachi says GM. Power Naps, my good buddy Power Naps. GM, good to see you, buddy. Thanks for joining us. So, BTC hit new all-time highs last night. Trump, I mean, at this point, it's like confirmed, right? Like, from what I understand, is he is going to be the 47th president of the United States. I don't like to get too political, but it is positive for markets, and we can see it from the market reaction so far that this was the spark to the kindling to really set things in motion. Like, yes, we've been experiencing a version of a bull market for, probably about a year. I mean, even before that, the whole run up in 2023, right off the lows after the FTX blowout, like that whole run up, we've gone from, what was it, 16K all the way up to 70. Did we hit a peak of 75? Well, we'll take a look at the majors in a minute. Pretty monumental moment for the markets, I think, because it signals that innovation and technology are going to be favored again out of the White House. Yes, it's still a few months until he takes office, but the market is forward-looking and it is telling us this is bullish. And we've all known that it was going to be more bullish. And if anybody's upset about the results, you know what? At the end of the day, who is in power, who is in the office, doesn't really affect your day-to-day much, really, at all. You still have to take the initiative. You still have to take the action. You still have to take your life into your own hands. And by learning skills such that we teach here, you can take your finances into your own hands by learning a system that can pay you out a solid money, solid returns if you use it effectively, and you trade with the trend and you understand where to enter and where you get the best risk reward and where you're invalidated so you can protect as much as your capital as possible. I feel like I'm ranting a little bit though, but whoo! Markets are hot. Let's do what we do, and we start with the majors just to get a quick look. Bear in mind, I have not updated the majors chart since the most recent move up. But let's take a look and see what we've got. I mean, wow. Let's just go full screen on the BTC chart. And you can see we were in this massive channel since like March, right? End of February, early March. Then we broke out of it, retested it a couple times, and then with the positive news. And I mean, look, I often say like majors aren't my focus, but the system that I teach here transfers to any market. It's useful in any market, whether that be majors for crypto, on-chain for crypto, equities, Forex, anything really. It's, it's based on a system that works in any environment. You just have to know what you're looking for and tweak to the different nuances. But I mean, BTC set a daily range, put in demand, came back and tagged it after it flipped that outer level of that channel. And look at that perfect retest. I mean, I've had this channel drawn. I think I added it to the chart back somewhere in here. There was a stream we did. Excuse me. It wasn't a live one. Well, it was live, but it wasn't a public one that I did just for fun with my buddy Too Tall. And we just went, because it was a pretty dry moment in the market. I think we were down here somewhere. And I drew in this channel. And look at that. It flipped it, came into this demand, perfectly tagged that level, and sent. Now, I do want to remind everyone, we did run up into all-time highs. So we're going to face some sellers up here. But I mean, if the daily closes like this, we're looking really strong. And I think the market has signaled to us, bull market is here, and we want to run with it. So I think at this stage, any pullback so far, apologies, that is the alarm telling me that the New York Open just went live. Let's take a look. We can pop down in the 4 hour and see. So, I mean, you can see on the H4, it's chopping in here. I don't think we're going to come back down here, but who knows? I'm not trying to predict. There is demand down here. There's also a giant fair value gap, but it looks to me so far like that previous all-time high level is providing a solid foundation where people are looking to go long. I haven't looked at open interest or anything like that. It's not really what I do to see whether it's highly levered or whatnot, but I believe the last I checked that this move was highly spot driven. We can also take a look that, I mean, ETH is starting to catch up, but ETH is still lagging tremendously. Up slightly more than BTC on the day, but definitely lagging. I think once it breaks out of this, there should be some explosive movement, but I don't. In the short term, the catalysts don't really favor ETH. Longer term, I have a longer term view of that. BlackRock wanting to tokenize TradFi. I believe it will be on Ethereum rails, but at the moment, look at Solana. Wow. What's interesting is 2 days ago, it broke the daily trend, but now it's completely recovered that and looking to put in and erase this entire, because we had still been trading on Solana within a bearish daily range. All of this that happened within it was inter-range counter trend, but with an upward bias. And now if we close above here, this level, we've completely flipped daily bullish. And we establish a new daily range. And not surprising, given how much of the activity takes place on Solana. And I mean, the Sol ETH chart, wow. Look at that thing. That's the Sol ETH chart, which just charts the price of Sol against Ethereum. And it just tells you that being an ETH holder hasn't been the wisest move. I mean, since somewhere over here, I started swapping a bunch of my ETH for Sol, and I do most of my trading these days on Solana, so it makes sense to have my denominator that way. Yeah, so I'm happy either way with both of them. My long-term and my mid-term views. Anyways, that's the majors. We're not going to sit here too long on that because, as you guys know, my specialty is on-chain shitcoins. Looks like we've got 17 people in the chat. GM, thank you for everyone that's here. Let me pull this screen down and we can start to take a look at the watch list. Got a bunch of requests today. I mean, that is the nature of this show. So let's take a look and see what's been requested and we can dive right in. Okay. What do we got today? We've got 22 coins that were requested. Be able to get through all those. I got about 2 hours until I need to get some other work done. So we'll dive right in and take a look at what we've got. You guys know I like to sort by volume. So there we go. Pnut has become a bit of a, or had become a bit of a rallying cry towards the end of that election period there. Cute little pet squirrel that was taken from its owner by government forces in the state of New York, became a bit of an outcry. And then we had this coin just go absolutely wild. I mean, from its initial run, it hit 130 mil in its first leg up. And now we've surpassed that. Let's clean the chart up. Start fresh, see what we've got. Let's go high time frame. Okay, so daily. We have this level here that it, currently looks like it's sweeping. Many hours to go until the daily close. H12 would even put in a sweep. But the coin is still quite strong. Let's take a look. So when we start adding levels, I mean, we can see even that on H4 it's put in a sweep, right? Like here's the top of the H4 range, but it's pushing right up against there. Like I wouldn't necessarily bet against this at the moment. Let's just keep going down lower time frames so we can outline more levels that we want to be taking a look at. Those previous key swing levels that I tell you guys all the time to mark out when you're starting on the chart. So H1. You had a higher high set here, consolidating below the previous all-time high at the moment. Let's mark out our H1 range. H1 low, H1 swing high. It's doing some consolidating down here. Let's see, was that a sweep? No, it wasn't actually a sweep of that inter-range level. Now, if I'm looking at this, like where am I putting demand? I'd probably look at the H4 because the H1 demand is really low. So let's just do this. There's your H4 demand. H1 swing low is within it. So I think anything that comes down into here is a good bid. Does it come all the way down there? I don't know. Like this was quite a move yesterday off of the election speculation. And markets are cooling a little bit at the moment, just like digesting that move. It's literally in the middle of this range though. So like not necessarily the best place. Yeah, we're essentially right in the middle. Oh no, the middle's up here. So we're in the lower half. It looks like it came down and just about swept or just about tagged the 786 after that move up, just from fibbing the H1 range. Maybe see a little bit more consolidation in here. Maybe it comes down and tags that before going up. I wouldn't really look at M15, just given the market cap and how choppy that will tend to be. As you can see, M15 lost structure here, and then it regained it here. So maybe this is it right here. Maybe this is, maybe this is the M15 low right there that's setting right now. But as you guys know, and as I talk about, you can have the high time frame trend one way and then counter trend on the lower time frames. And lower time frame is lower quality signal. So this may hold or it may still want to come down. I don't know. Actually, let's leave that up for now and we can circle back a little bit later. If it comes down into here, this H4 demand, I mean, even though H4 was a sweep, right? Like you didn't put in a new high on H4s, but this is an area of demand and it's the H1. and here. So I think if you get something in here, it's a high probability bid. And whether this M15 holds or not, we don't know yet. Moving along, Doge, Department of Government Efficiency. This is something that I had drawn out. I don't know if this was from the last stream or this was just something that I drew out for a friend. Can't remember. But I outlined two areas that I would look for. One was up here, but it came down through that, and the other was into this fair value gap that I drew here. And if we take a look, the fair value gap held, never closed below. What is a fair value gap? Well, it's an area of large price displacement that leaves a gap between, like in the middle candle between three candles on either side. There's no price action between it, between that gap of fair value where price was deemed to be fair value. So there was a high probability that it would hold there, and it did. Let's clean this up though and take a look and see what we can do now. Oh, no, that's not what I wanted to do. So what are we working with right now? Like, here's your range high. You haven't broken the daily range yet. Like, if this closes above here, you've made a new daily higher high. Yes, price traded up there, but at the moment it's still working on this daily range. If this closes above, I would say your demand is here, but we just don't know yet. Like, if this closes as a sweep, and given that the election euphoria is past, or it's not past. Let me rephrase it. That build up into the election euphoria is past, and there's a little bit of certainty. Does this keep going, or does this want to cool for a little bit and trade maybe back lower? Unclear at the moment. I mean, H12, you got a higher high. Okay, so we can work with that. There's an H12 higher high. I would keep that as your demand as well on H12. You know, it's an area of consolidation, or an area of what's the phrase that I always use? I'm forgetting my phrase. It's an area where I can't remember. Moving on. Not going to dwell. Okay, so H12. Higher high set on H12. I think if it comes down into here, it's a bid. Being cognizant, though, of the daily. Because if daily sweeps, then maybe it comes lower down. But I think that demand is where bids come in. Even take a look at H4. I mean, look, H4 tagged H4 demand here and bounced. We gave a reaction off the H4 demand here, but it's still coming down a bit. I mean, it's been a large move up for a while, and sort of became a symbol. I mean, it resonates highly with Elon, who has been an instrumental figure throughout the election campaign. I'm just trying to take a look and see, like, has H4 held? I mean, the H4 has held since October 15th. H4 has remained in. No, that's a lie, because you had a close below here. But H4 has remained intact since. Yeah, H4 has remained intact since here, which is with the, well, that's just interesting because that's the daily range, right? Since end of October. I wouldn't necessarily recommend top blasting on something like this, that it had such an epic run into a news-driven event, but it is holding the H4 range, and it's done so for a while. And when I say the H4 range, here's a swing low, here's a swing high. Why is this the H4 range? Well, it was a swing low that created the swing high creating a higher high above this level, making the new H4 range. It may chop around through here some more, it may come down through here. Maybe you get a sweep at that lower H4 level before going up again. Or there's also a chance that it just holds the previous all-time high level. Like, you have to monitor these things. It's a difficult spot to really want to put a bid on. But if the market's going to just be up only from here, not saying that it is, but if it wants to just keep pumping, you have to look for your lower time frame triggers, which would have been this morning. Moving along to GOAT. Just check the chat real quick. Got 20 people. Amazing. Okay, so one GOAT got listed on Binance. It had been trading down only. And we can take a look at the perps chart if anyone's interested in that. I had been showing that in the AFM group, in the TG group, outlining the downtrend of what perps traders were seeing, because once it goes on to a SEX, a different type of trader starts to step in and trade those things. And the technicals become a lot more reliable. Not that they're not reliable on chain, it's just it's a different class of trader. But GOAT had been bearish H4. Well, now it's flipped bullish H4. Let's go higher time frame, see what we've got. I mean, all-time highs look really tempting from here, right? Back up to 900 mil. And then beyond, I know a lot of people that are very bullish on this coin. Not really much we can do. Yeah, I mean, even H12 had been bearish. Now H12 is broken bullish. Okay, so this is something we can work with. H12 has gone bullish. There's an area of H12 demand in here. Not saying it's going to come down into here, but if it does, I think that is a very strong buy signal. Bottom of your H12 range. You have the higher high break there. So maybe it just tags the higher high break. Maybe it comes into the H12 demand. You had this previous all-time high level, so maybe it just wants one more tag into there before going. You have an H4 fair value gap here though as well. So, you know, there's a lot of areas you can look for a higher low to be set. It's just unclear at the moment where that might be. Given it is a sex pair now though, like fair value gaps become a lot more at play. So maybe it's just something comes down into here. You know, maybe you get something. Maybe you get something like this. Maybe it's something like that. But I can't predict that for you. You just have to look out for the signs. It does look like it's cooling a little bit here at the moment, which echoes or mirrors what BTC is doing at the moment, right? Large run up, now it's just consolidating. So I do believe overall the markets will resolve higher. This is a higher liquidity, much larger market cap coin. So if you're going to play something like this, you know, you feel safe putting in size. Well, these are areas that you'd look for. In here or down in here. Down here seems a little less likely now, given the size of the move. And I do believe perps traders will be looking for signals to go long again in here. And then you also have to ask yourself, like, where would their invalidation be off of this move? Like, is it down below here? Does it have this whole area? These are the complexities of perps coins, though. That is a little bit different than on-chain. Overall looks strong, though. Fred, which was the raccoon also that belonged to the pnut owner that got confiscated from him and euthanized alongside pnut. Quite a really crazy story, to be honest. This is the H1 chart. Let's just clean this up, see what we've got. Go higher time frame. Daily might not have much to work with. H12. Did it come down and tag? No, it didn't fully tag that. Okay, well, H4, you've put in a bunch of sweeps here. It doesn't have as strong of a narrative as pnut, and I don't know the longer term viability of this one. But look at that. You had a level here that was flipped on H4. It came down and tagged it like textbook. Couldn't be more textbook. Okay, so H1 made a higher high. Your H1 range is fairly wide. H1 swing low, H1 swing high. This was your higher high break. I think let's just use H1 since there's more data than on H4. It's like dead set in the middle of the range, so it's a tough spot to take a bid off of. This whole area of, it's a cluster. That was the word I was trying to remember before. A cluster of price action. Brain fart. Apologies. A little while ago, I was trying to remember the term that I use, and it is a cluster. So here's a cluster of consolidation that occurred. Price trading both ways before resolving higher, creating the area of demand. Well, we can see it actually tagged it perfectly. The bounce hasn't been too strong. Maybe it wants to come down deeper before going higher. It is bullish though, because it's been making higher highs after making lower lows. It was on a downtrend. Well, now it's on an uptrend again. So you want this H1 level, the swing low, the H1 range low, to hold. Loses that, then it's done. But for now, you're looking for somewhere to enter here. Maybe this one we might be able to get away with M15. Okay. Well, we can see it's been into M15 demand here. Swept that M15 level a few times. The move's gotten a little bit weaker though. So I would say better monitor would be the H1 for something deeper into here. I'd say buyers most likely step in, but it does depend on whether this has lasting narrative compared to pnut. And I would also say depends on what pnut does. What a statement to make. Always cracks me up a little bit with some of these names. Oh, Kimberly has asked if there is a link to this watch list. There is. Should be an AFM, but I actually forgot to share it. So what I'll do is I'll pop that into the AFM TG group right now so that anyone interested can follow along. Just adding that right now. Okay, Kim, it's in the AFM chat. You can grab it from there. It's the same one from every show, though. I update it. You're welcome. 12th N says Luce, if it isn't on the list. Well, it is, and in fact, it is next. Okay, so last night I had posted. Let me show you what I had last night. We had this H4 range. And I said, if this closes above this range, we probably see a move similar to pnut because it's a very similar looking chart. Like if you take a look here on H4, no, on H1, this whole range here, where was it? This range here, this H1 range, I don't have it outlined now, but there was an H1 range here that when it broke free, came down and tagged it and sent. And I pointed out that this Luce range, H4, so slightly higher time frame, it has had more trading occur. I said, if it breaks out of this range, you'd look to bid. And look at that. It closed above the range. With the H4 closed above there. And then it's come down and made a move. Now, bottom of the range is here. Top of the range is here. This is your H4 range. Why is this the range? Well, this is the swing low that created the swing high, creating a higher high above the range. This was your H4 bearish range. Well, now it's gone bullish. Looks as though it's attempting a sweep at the moment. It came down a little bit after the close above. It didn't really give you much to work off of, though, right? Like, that fair value gap wasn't there until that candle closed. And once that happened, it's since pumped. So could there have been a trigger to look for? I mean, even on H1, not really. I believe what I did say in the chat when I was chatting with Naps last night, Power Naps from the TG, one of our admins, I said maybe it's just a retest of the breakout level. Well, it came back below it. So there really wasn't much to work off of to give yourself a trigger on this one. If this closes above, you have a new H4 higher high, then you can maybe look into here. It has run into this previous swing level that I've marked out a while ago that stopped on it. This is why I say it's so important to mark out those crucial swing levels on the way up, because they often act as areas of support and resistance in the future, which we're seeing now. I'm just trying to take a look, like, how would you get on board this right now without it just being a top blast? I mean, the H4 candle closes in an hour, so see what happens here. If this is a sweep, then you look for something down in here. I can't really say what that is yet. Like, maybe it's just a sweep into this. Like, if H1 closes above here, you do have an area of demand here. And it looks like it might. It's got 4 minutes to go. So if this closes an H1 higher high, it's sweeping it at the moment, but if it closes above that level, keep in mind this is marked off from the H4. So the H1 is a little misaligned. As you guys know, that charts are often slightly misaligned for on-chain. So the H1 is there. If it closes as a higher high, I mean, you'd look into here. So maybe this is what you're looking for here. Maybe it's an H1 move into here for your higher low. I do think since it's broken that H4 range with the higher high, there's a lot of eyeballs looking at this. It has a unique narrative. Wasn't a huge fan of it before. Maybe not necessarily even still, but it's a mascot of the Vatican. It's not an official coin, I don't believe. I think it's just a fan coin. But it caught the attention, obviously. It had a massive run up to 100 mil. And people are looking to bid this, and I know that for a fact. So you have to see what happens here. I would say if H1 closes up here, I would, even if this is a sweep, I would look into here for buyers to step in. Right around that H4 breakout level, like, it seems likely that buyers will step in there. Moving along to Fartcoin. Oh, PowerNap says, thanks for calling that. Punted size into that FBG dip. Amazing. PowerNaps is one of our admins. He's really good with narratives and pretty nice with it on a chart and at taking trades. Let's take a look now at Fartcoin. I mean, bullish, right? This is an H12 chart. It's still in a bearish H12 range, but I think at this point, the coin is very bullish. So maybe it's going to run into some supply up here and you find a higher low down here. But you can see that level that I marked out a long time ago, once it closed above, it acted as support and bounced right off of it. If it does come back down, I think anything into here is a buy. It's been doing a bunch of bullish stair stepping on H4, right? Has respected the ranges and bounced perfectly off demand on multiple occasions. All right. Close above. Comes down. Didn't quite touch demand there, but close above, into demand, close above, into demand, close above, into demand. It's working on putting in another H4 higher high. Now running this close up into this H12 range high here, not the ideal place to be bidding because you're potentially towards the end of that whole move before the higher low finds itself somewhere. So personally, I wouldn't be looking to enter this here. Even like this was just a quick flip, right? Like if say you took that trade into demand, 40% move, decent liquidity, a coin that you're pretty sure at this point isn't just going to die off on you. But you do run the risk of being up into supply now. So I think if the H12 supply does give resistance, you're looking for a higher low somewhere here. Maybe it's just into here again, or maybe it's into here. It's like I can't really tell you that yet because it's still doing bullish stair stepping. But after a move like that, especially a move like that on H12, you're looking for a higher low somewhere, right? And maybe what's happening is maybe you're getting some sort of, it's too early to say because you got almost 9 hours until that closes. So we'll have to see where that ends up, but maybe this ends up being something like this into here and then off it goes. I don't like to predict. And after a move like that, I'm not trying to buy into an area of supply. Like this right here is H12 supply because you're still technically in a bearish H12 range, but I think the coin is bullish. So you just take the bullish view that you're looking for the higher low. Whether that's here, whether that's into here, or if it flips, like you can't really use this mean line. Well, you can't because it's not actually the trend line yet. We just don't know. This candle is still underway. But you're saying to yourself, okay, where is the higher low going to take place? Because up until now, all of this has been counter trend to the H12 range. I think higher, but where does the higher low set? Because that's what we're looking for, right? Like talk about this all the time. The majority of what I do is looking for the higher low. Moving along, Cerebro. Cerebro has been one of the more bullish coins, even during that whole pullback a couple days ago. Like it was up only. Now it's swept this H12 level a few times. It's trading back above it now on H12, so maybe you're going to get that H12 higher high here. It only ever gave a very mild pullback into H12 demand down here before going higher. I think if we look at H4, we've put in higher highs, yes. So here's your H4 range. H4 is put in a higher high, came down into demand and is finding buyers. I know there's a lot of interest from this coin. Starting to get more attention on it. If it holds this H4, then it seems like higher is likely. If the H12 closes above here, then we have a new range to work with. That's daily. Say you get that H12 higher high here. Just get rid of this. Say you finally get this H12 close above here. Well, there would be an area of demand into here. But it's too early to say because we haven't set the higher high yet on H12. It's working on it right now. But this would be your H12 demand here. And then you'd be looking for the next higher low. But this thing does keep grinding up, right? Run up, pull back, run up, pull back, run up. So where's the next higher low going to be? It's too early to say. For now, it's holding the H4, right? So maybe that's all it needs. Maybe all it wants is that H4 tagging the demand before going higher. Does anyone have any questions at all? Oh, there we go. Kim has a question. Can you explain what a meme line is? I use the term meme line as a joke about diagonal trend lines, because to me, I much prefer horizontal lines because horizontals are objective, whereas diagonals are subjective. Let's see if I can find a chart with a good example of a meme line on it. Does GOAT have one? Okay, yeah. So GOAT had been working with this trend line here. I only like using diagonals when they're so obvious that I know that the rest of the market is looking at it. And you can see it had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 tags of that line. It closed above, broke the meme line. It's just a trend line though, right? And like I said, they're subjective because do you put it here? Do you put it here? Like there is a level of subjectivity to it that I don't love them like I do horizontals, but it was respecting the trend, flipped the trend, came and tagged, not quite gave a proper tag, an overside tag, but flipped the trend line, and then it went up. So these are things, like triangles and wedges and stuff like that. I don't subscribe so much to chart patterns like that. But when they're obvious, and I mean, that one's pretty obvious right there. This is an H12 trend line. So that's what I mean by meme line. And I don't use them too often. You'll probably notice on my charts, maybe 1 out of 10 charts, I'll throw one up there. It's just if it's clearly visible to me, that means that I know a lot of people in the market are looking at it, which means that it adds weight to it being a form of analysis that people are looking at. Shrub, Elon's hedgehog. Once pnut popped off, there was a whole bunch of new crop of animal coins that popped up, and this was one of them. So you can see it was trading this bearish H1 range. Well, it closed above. When it broke higher there, broke free of the H1 range, creating a new range. Now, once it closed above, it's actually already come down and tagged that area of demand in here. like textbook. So this would have been a great trade yesterday. Where's the trade now? Well, it's just consolidating in this H1 range. Swept, and you guys know, you get a couple sweeps of the range high, lower is likely. Not always the case. The chart can be strong enough to overcome that. As we've seen with Cerebro, I mean, it's swept a bunch of times. So we'll have to see what happens there because it's swept at the range high multiple times. But there's your H1 range, bullish range. Now you're just asking yourself, does this have enough juice to make a higher high? I think if it comes back down into the H1 demand, your risk reward is good. Your invalidation is very clear that it's worth a shot. Maybe you put in another, it swept that level. Oh, no, it didn't sweep it yet, but maybe. No, actually, no. So that's not a swing low. What am I looking for? No, can't even use those because it's not even an inter-range swing level yet because there hasn't been a 3-candle pattern there that formed. Low, 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 lower. Maybe the move is you get an H1 sweep in this area of demand of that interim swing level. Maybe that's the play. An H1 sweeps that, closes above. There's your trigger. Would be in demand. You could even just blind bid the demand. It's a small range, right? Like, say you put a limit at the top. Your invalidation is 20% below. It's not nothing. It's not a nothing amount of invalidation. Like, you do stand to lose 20% there before you are invalidated, but there's a trade there. I do have to say, though, compared to something like pnut, it's much weaker, as you can see. Act 1, the prophecy. Let's just start fresh on this one. We'll mark our key levels. This is H12. What are we doing on daily here? Well, daily it's been a bunch of sweeps, but H12 was a higher high. We have our H12 demand in here. Now this is hindsight a little bit because I can see where it's been holding. So, if this was a fresh chart and the price hadn't come down yet, I would have outlined a larger area of demand. But since we've already seen the reaction, like, this is a bit of hindsight now, but there's your H12 demand. H12 range low, H12 range high. Why is that the range? Well, this was the swing low that created the swing high, creating a higher high. There we go, creating a higher high above the previous swing high level. And there's your demand. It's come down and tagged the very bottom of the range. There was a first trigger for a trade. There was a second trigger for a trade. And now it's just still consolidating within this demand. I know there's been a lot of drama with the dev behind this project that had sold a few times. I don't know whether the dev's out fully or not at this point, but it is holding. I wouldn't necessarily be looking to buy here, given you're so far away from invalidation now. But I think if it closes above here on H12, let's take a look at H4. So H4 did close above there. The swing level's a little off, but it's come into H4 demand. Whoa. MEV wick just happened there. But maybe this is the H4 demand that holds. It's been a lot of chop, though, as you can see on H4, right? So H12 probably the cleaner signal. If H12 closes above there, then you have an area of demand here. Moving along, Stewie had also been a fairly bullish coin, and still is, in fact. H4 range. And clean it up so you guys can see. Marking out those key swing levels. And it's been doing H4 bullish stair stepping. Here's your H4 range low, H4 range high. Swept the high, now it's back down near the lows. Risk reward wise, you're pretty good in here. So now you're just watching for this range to hold. It's in the demand. Maybe it's trying to sweep that level there. Candle closes in 45 minutes. Has a solid narrative, solid artwork, solid team is what I've heard. But that's for you to research on your own and decide. Just based off the chart though, like this is held a few times. You're just looking for this range to hold. Close below, then you're invalidated. If this ends as a sweep like this, like that could be your trigger right there. Just taking a look at H1. I mean, H1 broke bearish. No, it didn't, actually. The H1 range is the same as H4 range. It had done this, though. When we talk about those meme lines, well, they work both ways, right? It was following the trend line on the way up. It broke the trend line, underside tagged, and sold off. But it's just still consolidating within the bullish H4 range, right? Risk reward here really isn't that bad. Moving along, Project 89. It's been doing a lot of consolidating. I mean, the project is pretty cool, but a lot of these AI coins rely on the dev shipping and not saying something like crypto folk that us in the crypto markets don't like to hear. And he'd made a few flubs along the way talking about other coins and stuff like that. But it's within, is this daily? Well, but we just start fresh, you guys can see. Key swing level on daily. H12. So now H12 did close above there, I believe. Let's take a look. Zoom in. Yeah, you got an H12 close above there, which made this your H12 demand. H12 range low. Just want to see what else I see. It put in a sweep here. Your risk reward is pretty good here. It's just been slow moving. So when a market's been as bullish as it has been, this one hasn't been overly bullish. It's still in bullish structure on H12. So maybe it just needs time before buyers really step in. Gonna have to watch that to see, but you know, your risk reward here is pretty decent. I think if you lose this level, yeah, maybe buyers step in on the range low again, but it starts to lose, like it just starts to look less appealing. But the range is intact. Like I don't really want to use that as an H12 range high just because that looks like, what am I supposed to do with that? We're going to call it like the massive range from 4 million to 40 million, right? Like, so I think we just focus in here. We can go to H4. I think if it breaks out of this H4 range, it's going to start to go. Moving along, banana, first ETH coin on the docket today. Well, this is a weekly chart. It's a lot of chop. Usually when markets are very active, banana is quite strong. ETH hasn't really been the place where degens are spending too much of their time. So I'm not really sure how much volume they've been getting, but let's just view this chart as it is. So there's your weekly level. It's right up into that weekly level again. You can see how important that weekly level has been, right? Rejected, 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 closed above, but then closed below, underside tag rejected, closed above, below. But if we're just looking at this daily, okay, here's our daily demand. Daily range low, daily range high. You're looking for the higher low in here, and so far it looks like buyers stepped in here, but then it's run right into that weekly level. You really want to see daily and then weekly close above here. So what I can see actually is H12 did break bearish, and then you can see where it exactly sold off from, right? This is H12 supply. Broke below, H12 closed below, underside retest into supply, sold off. Underside retest into supply, sold off deeper, but finding support. So this is, this daily range. You can see where it's trading, right? Like you can see how this range is important. It's a massive bearish H12 range, but daily's bullish. So I think the crucial thing on the banana chart is this weekly level. If you get closes back above the weekly on daily and then a weekly close above, then I think you're looking quite good. Kira. Let's clear this off. See what we've been working with. Okay. Here's your H12 range. Really great example of just trading a range, right? Like you put in an H12, it's technically a bearish range. Even though the main primary H12 range is bullish, but it all occurred in one candle. So it's not really much to go off, but this is a good, so I get a question sometimes, like when one candle is a swing high and swing low, how do I use that? Can you use that? What is the way to use that? And what I say is, if it's a bearish range, that candle is valid if the swing high was set before the swing low. If it was a bearish range and the low was set before the high, then it doesn't work out. But since the swing high was set before the swing low, as we can see, it's a red candle or purple candle in this case, that's your range. And look at how well it's respected that. Made the range low, swept, top of the range, back to the bottom of the range, swept, back to the top of the range. Like it's a range until it's not, right? And this is a very good example of that. Now it's swept the range high again. Does that mean it comes down here again? Candle hasn't closed yet. Still half a day, 8 hours, 8.5 hours until close. So who knows what happens between there. We can go H4. I mean, look, H4 is even. So, I mean, H4 got some closes below and then recaptured, right? I think the primary range to be watching here is H12. And H4 is chop because you could have come down here and thought, oh, it's lost the range, and then waiting for that. Well, if you just look at the primary time frame analysis, you could see it was just sweeps. If H12 closes above this, it's game back on. Other time frames, though, it is really just choppy. Anything below H12, and like you can see how choppy H4 is. So yes, H4 has been stair-stepping. So maybe you're saying to yourself, this H4 demand here is where it holds before going higher. Something to watch there. Your risk reward here isn't great though, because there's a slight lean, well, not slight, there's a probability that this just plays the range again. It's a range until proven otherwise. So far, it's proving it's a range. Now the market is more bullish than it had been down in here, so maybe that H4 does hold. But you wouldn't want to see it because your invalidation on H4 would be here. So you get something into here with a tight stop or clear invalidation. And then if it loses that, well, then bottom of the range is highly likely. How's everybody doing in the chat? Still got 17 of you guys here today. Amazing. Thank you all for being here. We're going to keep powering through. AI16Z. Massive run up the other week. Trying to see if I see a meme line on this one. I mean, there was a trend there. It broke it and then lost it again. Let's just take a view of what's happening right now. It's still pretty choppy on H4, right? Like, realistically, this is the bottom of your H4 range. This is the top of your H4 range. It's been doing bullish stair stepping. You can get rid of this now. You can get rid of this. So there's your H4 range. It's massive. It's holding this demand for now. But it is middle of the range. You guys know that I prefer demand when it's attached to a swing low, but there is an area of demand here, and we can see that buyers have been stepping in trying to find that higher low. What would I be looking for to occur here? I think if you get a H4 close above here, then it's starting to look like it wants to go that way. For now, it's trending counter trend to the primary trend. I wonder if there's anything to go off of H1. Yeah, I mean, H1, you could kind of say, okay, and look at that, it ran right up into the top there. But you could say to yourself, okay, if H1 and preferably H4 closes above there, then we know that the higher low is most likely set. For now, it's still trying to figure that out. It is bullish on H4 though. It's just where does the higher low set before going up? I feel like so many things right now, the charts are kind of in interesting places because a lot of things pumped, and then it's like, okay, do I just FOMO in and buy into those pumps? And other things have just been sort of consolidating and yet to resolve one way or the other. Lucci, let me clear this off. This was a request from my buddy Johnny. GM to Johnny if you're paying attention, if you're watching, but let's take a look here. Okay, here's the Lucci chart. Oh, right away I can see that this level is important. This is daily, so a long way to go till it close, but we can see that this level is important at the moment. Okay, H12 you got to close above. So H12 has flipped that level. Maybe this is what it's trying to hold here. H12 fair value gap in here, which it found support on. Right? Came down, boom, and printed the H12 higher high. You're still within the primary range though on H12, which has been, and daily, which has been bullish. It's just we're a lot of chop after that first run up. So it's hard to use the first candle as your range. You guys know I like a swing high to swing low. We're just looking at H4. Here's your H4 range. Came down into that H12 fair value gap, found support, went up, but it's still chopping. Maybe it wants to come down lower into here, or maybe it's just going to hold this level. Like, it's difficult to say on so many of these that did a, you know, that's a fairly parabolic type trend there. Not a huge parabola, but that's a fairly parabolic type trend. Sorry, I'm tripping over my words this morning. Take some water. It is bullish though. Lucci is bullish. Maybe something might sweep that on H4. Okay, moving along. Worm. Was a last minute request from our buddy Peon, one of our admins in the AFM-TG group. Bullish H4. Here's your range. Here's the H4 fair value gap that it found support on the breakout swing high level. This is like a lot of charts right now, though, right? Like, you had your big move, and now it's just consolidating. So you're trying to find the higher low and where to time that, and where is the higher low going to set. Does it want to come down deeper? Is this going to hold here? It's unknown as of yet. H1 range is bullish. Quite choppy, though, after the move. I feel like everything is a bit difficult to chart where the next move is going to happen at the moment. Just, you know, from looking at what I'm seeing so far today. I guess maybe 2 days ago would have been a better day to stream. I apologize. But we're working with what we're working with. So you're looking for a higher low somewhere. Is it this fair value gap? Is it the demand down here? Is it the range low? I think if it comes back down to the range low, the chart looks kind of scary. AVB. Okay. So it looks like it lost H4, but now it's attempting to regain bullish on H4. Like, that's closing in less than half an hour. It's looking like a solid candidate for it to close like that. You get your H4 close above there, then you're looking for a higher low in here. Why do I say that it flipped bearish there? Well, when you got to close below the H4 range, with that candle there, it made a bearish H4 range. But if it closes back above there, it flips back to bullish, and then you look for a higher low. Maybe it ends up being on that breakout level. Looking pretty strong at the moment. Wealth, generational wealth. Not really much to go off on H4, although I do see that it swept that level. Let's take a look at H1. What to do on a chart like this? What to do on a chart like this? It's been chop city. I think what you're saying to yourself right now is okay. There's a few things that I see. Like this is your, okay, let me move this out of the way. Oops. This is what looks to me like the H1 range at the moment. Yeah, this is your H1 range because you had to close above here. What I see that it is doing right now is there's a breaker right here. A breaker is a form of demand. Right, we have OB or order block style supply and demand. We have fair value gap supply and demand. And we have breaker supply and demand. This here is a breaker. Aligns similarly with the fair value gap and also overlaps with the OB style demand. It could come all the way back down here. We don't know yet, but for now it's finding support in this breaker. It's a very choppy coin though, so the lower you can get in, the better. XMW. Okay. I believe this is one of the very early ChainEDGE portfolio alerts, one of the more successful ones on ETH. Okay, this is daily. It's right at the bottom of the daily range. It swept it. And it's clinging onto this area. This is your daily range. We can see, though, that there is a shift in the construction of the chart, right? Like, yes, there was consolidation before I move up. So maybe this is that consolidation before the next move up, but it looks different than it has for most of the move up. I mean, we could do one of these. Let's see what we see here. Now, this is what I talk about when I say mean lines are subjective because they're not as exacting as an objective horizontal, but we can see it had been following that line, and look, it closed below and it flipped it and tagged from the underside and has sold off a bit. But horizontals over diagonals, and right now the daily range is intact. If you get a daily close below here, not great. But your risk reward here is quite good, right? Because, you know, maybe give yourself an allowance to the bottom of that swing low there. But your risk reward here is pretty good. It just has had a large run up and it's doing some consolidating now. The question is, does this consolidation resolve higher or does it start to lose this level? We can take a look. So look, H12 is bearish. So this is a potential early warning sign that the uptrend is over. Let's just take a look and see if H12 had ever lost the H12 trend the whole way up. Okay, so this is something worth noting. This is the very first time in the entire chart history that H12 has made a lower low. Why do I say that's the lower low? Well, in fact, apologies, it's actually made two lower lows. This was your H12 range. It closed below, came up into supply, sold off. Now it's made a new H12 lower low, came up into supply, and it's battling to hold the daily level. So this is an early warning sign. Well, the early warning sign was that one. There are some signs here that this is cooling and that it may want lower before finding the next bottom. Like, what's weekly look like? I mean, it's into weekly demand, right? But is this just a deviation? But this is an area of weekly demand. So that is notable, right? And weekly is very high quality signal. We always go top down from highest time frame, and weekly is still very bullish. So if daily manages to hold this level, you're looking pretty good. If H12 can flip a close back above this level, then you've regained H12, and that's looking quite bullish. I would just be aware that there are conflicting signals occurring right here. Wawa cat. Let's clear this off. Let's see what we've got. You can see how strong of a signal weekly is, right? You got a weekly sweep and then sold off. Daily sweep, sold off. It looks like it's trying to reverse, but you're in a daily bearish range. Swing high. Swing low. This is your bearish daily range. Why is it bearish? Well, put in a lower low. If daily can flip that, you're back to bullish. Right now, it's just doing a sweep of the high. So if it closes above here, you're looking much more solid. H12, on the other hand, flip bullish. When you got to close above here. And there was your entry trigger when it tagged this H12 demand. Right? But right now, you're more focused on what's happening on daily. Because if daily closes a sweep, then you're looking lower. If this closes higher, then you're looking for the higher low somewhere here. It does look like it wants to go up, though. And let's just remember, overall, we want to be viewing things from a bullish lens at this moment in time in the market. Doesn't mean everything's going to go up only and forever, and everything is going to go up, but it does mean that overall, our skew in the market is bullish. Let's take a quick look here. Hermit. Ever look at the all-time high to determine the potential profit? Like if it's a 2x the Pico top, would you consider it a waste of time unless you have Intel or something? Obviously. That just determines position sizing, right? Like if you have a high probability setup on a higher time frame, but it's a smaller potential move, then you just have to size accordingly. Because you don't want it to be a waste of your time, especially when there are so many opportunities in the market that provide much greater returns than a 2x. But a 2x is a great trade if you're, depending on the size of your capital. 2x on 50K is 50K. 2x on 10K is 10K in profit, right? So it depends on the size of your bankroll. If you're only working with a few $1,000s, $10,000 in general for your whole book, and you only want to be risking a portion, well then maybe it's not so much a great opportunity. And then you should be looking for things that are higher risk with greater reward. GM, buddy. GM. Hopefully that answers your question there, Hermit. 1 second, sorry, I'm just checking something. But yeah, GM. We got our buddy Tarzan in the house. Was Haggis charted already? No, I don't believe it was. I can add that in. Rat Division, GM, or HM, and then GM. Good to see you, buddy. Let's move along. So yeah, I would watch what happens here on daily. I mean, you could get a sense early with H4. I mean, it does look like it's sweeping. We'll have to see. But then you could look into here. Like, look at how clean that held the retest. But you are into range highs on a bearish range. So keep that in mind. Matrix. This is another one of those AI coins. Now, it has upcoming catalyst of a launch or release. So this is highly speculative. It's a bearish H1 range, but it's been trading this range and looks like it's been an accumulation. This is usually what an accumulation pattern looks like before breakout. It's highly speculative. It's testing this H1 demand down here. Risk reward is pretty clear, but this is not a trade I would recommend for everyone. Like, this is a very speculative trade, dependent on an upcoming release. So if you're feeling highly risky or risk on, you're near the bottom of the range. The range is here. And if the launch occurs in the next couple of days, like I've been hearing that it's supposed to, I mean, the Twitter is active, then your risk reward here is great. And like, we want to be looking for plays where your opportunity for upside is far higher than your downside. Like, there was a lot of speculative noise here, and then it sold off. But why is it not just died? I know it does look rough. Full disclosure, this is a trade that I am in, because I do believe that if the launch occurs or the release occurs, that there's a real quick move to all-time highs and possibly beyond. Beyond that, you have to be highly risk on and open to risk to take this trade. And it's been choppy. I mean, you can see how choppy this is, but range low, range high, range low, ideally range high again and beyond. Oh. Ideally range high again and beyond. Now, I can't predict that that's going to happen. A whole lot could occur and the release doesn't go according to plan or it doesn't release. So like I said, this is highly speculative. But in a market like we're in right now, sometimes you got to just take the chance. ALP. This is Tucker Carlson's Zin competitor. It's not an official coin, it's a community coin, but it's been a very strong chart. And what do we have here? This is daily range, range low, range high, daily demand, previous swing level. Like a lot occurred here. That's telling you this is very bullish, right? Like made the daily range, higher highs, has held this previous high, this previous swing high breakout level, hasn't had a close below. You can see it's, swept it. It swept an inter-range level, tag demand closed above. That was a pretty good signal. At the moment, though, like you're up into range highs, so you're just wanting the next move to be a daily higher high close. There's not really a trade to be had right here. Maybe if it comes back down into here one more time. H4 is fairly choppy. Back and forth, back and forth. But it does look like it's resolving higher. Well, it is starting to resolve higher. There's no doubt about it. This is one of those things, though, where it's like, do you wait for range lows deeper in demand, or what's going to be the signal? Well, that sweep there was a pretty good signal and also held that level. We all know that Solana coins do often love to test range lows, but this just may be strong enough that it's not going to ever give that. Not really much more to analyze off this at the moment. I think H1 is just going to be all kinds of noise. Yeah, like look at that. How do you base a trade off of that? It's really difficult. I think you saw that it was downwards and then sideways, a lot of sideways. So the signs were there that I wanted to go up. The thing is now, you're so close to the range highs. Like I can't tell you that this is a good place to enter the trade. Maybe if it comes back down into here. Like you've had all this area here. So maybe if it comes back down somewhere into here. On H4. Or sorry, that's H12. Maybe it comes back down somewhere in there on H12. Bullish coin, though. I think it launches this month, so there are upcoming catalysts to be aware of, and this has been speculation with that. Okay, well, we've managed to run through the list. A little bit of a shorter one today than we're used to going through. Where are we at time-wise? An hour and a half, just under an hour and 40. Bit of a quicker stream today. Does anyone viewing have any questions? Alan, good to see you again. GM. Does anyone have any questions or any other charts that they'd like me to get to before we move on? Or before we wrap up, should I say? What's the thesis on Matrix? Well, they're supposed to be releasing their LLM into the wild. So at this moment in time, it's just highly speculative. And if you look at the chart, it looks like accumulation's been taking place. I don't have heaps of information. But I do know some guys that are bullish on it. And it's one of those things that once it gets released, the speculation is that it'll go up quickly and then you sort of sell into that. It's not a long-term thesis. You can go hop on their X account and take a look. I do see some buys starting to come in on it down here on the lows. But like I said, it's highly speculative. Like it relies heavily on them delivering. And typically not the area that I like to wade into, but sub 500K, currently sub 400K, like the risk reward is pretty decent. But as I said, very speculative. You'd have to do more research on that. But I know some guys that are anticipating the launch. Yeah, I wish I had more information for you on that, but you can just go to their X account and then go down that rabbit hole, literally, given that it's the matrix, down the rabbit hole. It's just a highly speculative wager that I took. Not trying to promote it. I'm just saying that in environments like this, it does offer much more upside than a lot of other plays. JJ says, couple of the recent portfolio alerts, Tukey and Mao. Okay, 1 second. Let's take a look. Tukey. Is it this, I'm assuming? Yes, I think so. And what was the other one? Mao? Was that an ETH coin? Oh, is it this one? Yeah, obviously with that much volume. Let's take a look. Tukey. Wow, it's a lot of sweeps occurring here. Sellers eager at that level. I mean, it made an M15. It made an M15 higher high and then a higher low, so or a lower low. It's choppy. It's very choppy. It's a difficult one to chart because like there's no primary structure other than that it went up. So obviously, yes, that was a bullish move up, but I don't really have much to work off of. Okay. What I can say is if you're looking for an M15 range, this is your M15 range. So you're looking for this demand to hold. Why do I say that's the M15 range? Well, swing low that created a higher high above that previous level. There's your swing high, M15 range. So you had a sweep at the high. Now it's back down into demand near the lows. Maybe it's sweeping this. So maybe this is your higher low here. Maybe this is your higher low here. I believe Ansem even tweeted out this artwork or something, which was part of what helped this. So maybe this is your higher low here. You lose this, then maybe it comes back down into one of these H1 levels, like down here. But at M15, you can base a trade off of this. And what was the other one? Mao. Okay. I don't remember charting this, but let's see what we've got. Nothing on daily. Wow, quite a wick on H12. And swept it with the last H12 close. H4 also swept it. Did we get anything close? H1 even swept it. But it looks like it wants to break out of here. And given that we're skewing bullish on the market, you're looking for this to hold. We'll just use this as our H1 range at the moment because there's not really much else to go off of. Even though it was a sweep of the previous high, you're looking for this to hold. So I think if it comes down into here, your risk reward is good. Oh, and Tarzan asked for haggis. Yes, you did ask for haggis. I'll get to that. Yeah, so on Mao, H1, if you get a close above here, looking really great. So far, it's rejecting off that level multiple times. So down into here would be ideal. But if it flips that into bullish, or sorry, if it flips that into a higher high, oh, we're getting some H4 closes. Not some, all of them. The H4 is just closed. And let's take a look at haggis. Newborn pygmy hippo. Well, I think I outlined this in the AFMTG group the other day. Range low, sweep, sweep, sweep. Now it's moving. I believe I said, well, you're looking for the higher, like the price was somewhere here, and I was like, okay, well, we're just looking for the higher low. Well, it looks like it found that. Looks like it found the higher low. Thing is, if you didn't buy down here, where do you buy now? I think on M15, you have a case for in here. Because it did make M15 higher highs. Higher high, higher high. You have a case for here. If you're already in the trade from lower, you're looking good. It's running into some resistance up here, but you're looking good on it on if you bought down here. If you're looking for where to buy, you buy in here. The only drawback of that is your invalidation is all the way down here on H1. So you'd have to take an M15 inval. Like say you lose this, then you try and get in again lower. But there's your M15, right? M15 range low. We don't know where the range high is yet because the candle is still forming. We need 2 candles closes on M15, but we can just infer for now that that's the range high. And you had an M15 higher high there. So maybe it finds support there, or ideally down into here. All right, AFM. Does anyone else have any further questions? Don't really feel like diving into all of the attention and portfolio stuff at the moment. I did a pretty thorough analysis on a lot of the, or most of the attention coins a couple of days ago that I put in the CE portfolio and high probability setups channel in the AFMTG group. So you can take a look at those there. I'm sure a lot of them have either played out or look different now, given how bullish yesterday evening was. But does anyone else Okay, Tarzan asks, if M15 turns against you, like if it loses the M15 level, it's still an H1 trade though, right? But if M15 loses the level, like if you come down into here and lose the, well, let's take a look and see. Yeah, if M15 loses this level, it's still just chop though, right? It's still just chop. And I mean, we could even say, if we want to be generous, we could put an area of H1 demand here. M15 would just be early, potential early warning sign, but it doesn't invalidate the trade, the overall trade, because your H1 is bullish. Does it have anything on it? I mean, it's even H4 bullish, right? Like, let's just go top down again. Let's just start here again, right? H4 demand, swing low, higher high break, swing high. There's your H4 range. I mean, it's an H4 trade, right? H4, H1, both bullish. Swept. I mean, these were some good signals, right? H4 demand, H1 swing low, sweep, 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 sweep. And now M15 is flipped back to bullish. Probability-wise, this wants to go up. So I'd be looking in here for a higher low. This may be it. It's tough to say because this move is already played out. And does it go back to all-time highs? I don't know. Does it just come up into here? I mean, once it gets there, if it gets there, there's a good chance that that's where it pulls back from and then look for a higher low. I mean, look, this is starting to send now. So this really was the optimal entry. So good on anyone that caught that or took that trade. Another one of those instances where Solana coins love a range low. Well, very bottom of the H1 range within H4 demand. Your risk reward was really great there. At some point, a higher low is going to come into play. Like it's not just, you know, I mean, maybe we do see that sometimes they just skyrocket, but at some point a higher low is going to set in. Yeah, I think you let this one breathe because it is looking quite bullish. I kind of shat on the coin the other day, pun intended, because I'm not too sure how strong the narrative is. Sort of just felt like Mudang, but not Mudang. But bullish structure, respecting range lows. You have to respect the chart. Prince City has a question in the AFM group. How about I just answer that for you in the AFM group because you've asked the question there. So it's, you know, I'll answer it for you in there. It doesn't require me to speak, I don't think. I think I can type it out. We're approaching the 2-hour mark. Let me pop that back up. Do some of the usual stuff that we do at the end here. Again, I want to thank each and every one of you for joining in on these streams. Always enjoy doing them. I hope you learn something from them, get something out of them, and find value in what I'm doing here. As always, Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment. It helps the channel grow. It helps the algorithms pick us up. And I really do want to help grow this channel and grow the community. The more people that have a system for basing their trades off of, the more successful they'll be. Crypto is a market where we can all make money and quickly. Well, if we can put probability on our side, even better. Don't forget to go to thedailyedge.com/subscribe. Your free daily newsletter delivered straight to your inbox, providing actionable intel, insights, and information about the crypto market from the previous day, skewing heavily towards onchain, and is a companion newsletter to ChainEDGE, written by the one and only onchain wizard, the brain behind ChainEDGE. As well, you can find links in the description below for the Daily Edge X account, the ChainEDGE X account, my X account, Onchain Wizards X account. You can find links for the Daily Edge Telegram channel. You can find links for the AFMTG group, which is where I take requests for this show, as well provide analysis on charts, my thoughts and input, as well as take questions and help to teach the system that I teach here. You can also find links for the Daily Edge newsletter and the ChainEDGE website. As well, if you're interested in subscribing to ChainEDGE, we didn't dive too much into anything ChainEDGE today. I don't think we did. But ChainEDGE is an on-chain analytics platform tracking the top 0.01% of DEX wallets by profitability in real time. If you're looking to subscribe, there is a ref code in the description for 10% off your lifetime fees. A wonderful platform that we use daily. Many of us in the AFMTG group are subscribers and users of the data. It helps to monitor flows so you can help trade with the market and not against it. And if you're looking for a new trading platform, consider using my BullX ref link. BullX is a trading terminal, which is really great for trading Solana coins. It's not an official partnership or affiliation. It's just my personal ref code. When you use it, you get 10% off your fees, and I get a tiny little kickback that helps to put these shows on. So if you're looking for a new trading terminal, consider using BullX and consider using my BullX ref link. New version Neo is in beta at the moment and will be released to the wild. So consider using BullX. Really great for scalping new pairs. One last dive into the comments. Let's take a quick look. Kim says, thank you. Amazing stream. Thanks for joining us, Kim. Always a pleasure having you. Mr. JJ says, thanks, friend. Thank you, sir, for being here. Radu, our buddy Tarzan from the AFMTG group, one of our admins. Thank you so much for being here. Krep says, thanks, Rap. Moses, thanks for the stream. And Prince says, thanks a lot for the stream. And I want to thank each and every one of you that join me for these streams. Because without you guys, there'd be no point. And it is growing. Like I said, the channel is growing slowly but steadily. And now that we're going into bull market confirmed territory, I think it'll continue to grow. And the more people we can help learn, the better for everybody. And on that, we will exit, as we like to do, on a little bit of music. Everyone, thanks again for joining. Let me see what I'm going to put on. Let's pick something. Let's pick something a little bit more chill. Until next time, everyone, thanks for joining. Ciao.